How's it going, everybody? This is Tucker Sutton here with Black Box Digital Asset Management, doing our Monday TA live stream. We are going to be going over a few things today, talking about total market cap, talking about ES, Bitcoin, DXY, Ethereum, a whole lot of stuff. We've had some pretty interesting moves over the weekend. So let's get into it. Here we're gonna start again. We're gonna start with total crypto market cap. As we can see, we have kind of bounced here. Obviously, this happened a few weeks ago, but we've bounced. We've gotten above this 200, which is a very good sign. If we look a little deeper here, we've got something decently bullish, I would say. I think we talked about this last time, but we got that deep wave, and then we got this smaller wave showing overall momentum flowing to the upside. Money flow is trying to curve up here. One of the things I was looking at actually earlier today was how much time we've spent, these RSIs and stock have spent down in this region. It's this purple line and this red to green line that changes colors. It's been a pretty significant amount of time, right? We're looking at, sub 20 levels on these indicators since about June, and so looking back historically, we can see, let me get rid of that. We can see that when we spend a significant amount of time down here, usually that is a bottoming range, right? And what I was looking at earlier today was, everybody is asking the question, right? Are we here or are we here, basically? If you just look at the moving average, right, it would tell us that, we are indeed right here. So that is interesting for the bull case. I was going back to these indicators. I was looking at, how much time did we spend in this region, in this sub 20 level. We really didn't get sub 20 until we saw that capitulation, which happened in November of 2018. And you could, one could argue that this capitulation here, right, this was this, or even part of this, right? Like, a lot of the bear case is built on this hasn't happened yet, and that we're gonna see that and then move up. But from a historical perspective, right, it seems that technically we may have already seen that capitulation move. And it is a bit difficult to read and a bit difficult to play, seeing as the traditional markets are in a pretty precarious position right now. If we go look over at ES, the SPY, there we go. It doesn't look great, right? I mean, it looks like this long-term trend has flipped, and this doesn't really look like just a regular correction. We are in this descending, broadening wedge, and we do have this golden pocket, which is taken from the COVID low to the all-time high, right? And we rejected, I should say, right where we thought we would. Right now, we're actually in a very interesting spot. We rejected this, I think it was last Friday, maybe not last Friday, it was probably a week ago. And now we are right at that golden pocket, and we are trying to make a move above it. We caught this bid last Friday, and we're trying to see if the bulls are trying to see if we can push up, right? With all the economic news and midterms coming out this week, it is definitely probably going to be market moving, and it's probably depending on how cold or hot CPI prints. This is going to give us pretty clear direction one way or the other. So obviously if CPI prints cold and comes in below expectation, we should see this reclaim this golden pocket, and maybe do something like this, and then get a retest, and then test the top of this. Now this would be, sorry, that's a terrible drawing. This would be a point of great interest if we saw a move like that, because it's either we do something like this, or we come up to the top here and maybe bounce around and fall down. There's a lot of things that can happen. Obviously, we can, as everybody says, we can go up, down, or sideways always. But from what I've been reading and seeing and looking at, I do somewhat expect CPI to print below expectation, actually, just with shelter being such a big part of that and it lagging so much. I do expect, since we've seen home prices come down, that it should significantly influence CPI. So yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I don't want to make any huge predictions, but this is looking a little more bullish than it was when I came on here last week and did this. I will say that. One of the keys in trading is to not get locked into a bias, and to make sure that when the markets change, when the charts change, when the news changes, that you are able to adapt. Obviously, myself and Black Box have been bearish most of the year. And that is kind of the easy thought process, is to stay bearish. But honestly, looking at this and looking at the potential news coming out and looking at, midterm elections, right? I mean, we really could see a flip in momentum and at least, look back and say, okay, yeah, that was a local bottom. So just some things to consider, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm not going to position any sort of way going into CPI personally, at least. It's always better to trade that afterwards, after we get some sort of clear trend continuation or reversal or something like that. I don't want to leave my account at the whim of Jay Powell and CPI and who wins the midterms and whatnot. So we'll have to wait and see, and I'm sure I'll be on here next week and we'll have a pretty big update for you guys. But let's go look at the Dixie, because it has been doing some interesting things recently. It's a pretty low time frame back out. So yeah, I mean, if we look at it on the weekly, obviously, like we talked about last week, this thing has been, the Chad this year, just completely ripping and destroying pretty much all asset markets. I did draw this little channel just to go back, just connected some highs and lows, and we have seen it hold support on this midline. So I would at least expect a bounce somewhere around 109, but if we are going to see a move up, and if we are going to see Dixie pull back, this golden pocket here would be a pretty strong area of support and somewhere I'd look for a decent bounce from. So I mean, that would, if we came down there, that would represent, right, a 6% pullback. So I'm not entirely sure if that's 1-to-1 with markets. I would expect, at least crypto, it should be something like 3-to-1. You know, we could easily see Bitcoin, and this is Bitcoin in the 6 hour. I mean, I would, yeah, probably 23K, somewhere in there. So probably 2 to 1, right? I would expect if Dixie pulled back 6%, we'd see at least 12 out of Bitcoin. But let's jump into this Bitcoin chart real quick. We are seeing somewhat of a swing fail here, honestly. I'm glad that we are catching a bid at this 20.7 level. You know, but if we can't reclaim this value area high up at 21.2, 21.3, you know, if we, you know, see something like, let's see, you know, if we see something like that and reject, I would expect us at least to come back to the support at 20K, if not the point of control. You know, depending on what we do there, you know, we could easily come back and revisit the bottom of the range. You know, if we get to that point, I'm not 100% sure that this, you know, range low would hold. And that could definitely be a recipe for new lows. So that's definitely something to watch. But, you know, nothing is conclusive until after we get through this economic week of news and get through these midterm elections. And, you know, I'm sure there'll be some wild price action for the next 4 days. So we'll have to wait and see, but definitely a possibility and definitely some levels to watch. Yeah, we really need to, you know, the bulls need to reclaim 21.2, 21.3 if we're going to see some trend continuation, for sure. But this is Bitcoin on the weekly with the Heikkens on. This is not as bullish as I would hope, as anyone would hope. You know, we've rarely closed weeklies below this 200, and we've closed a lot, obviously, since June. I would, if we do see the move up, and we do see the Dixie pull back, and we do see some, you know, good midterms and some, you know, decent cold CPI print, I would probably expect Bitcoin to push up to that 200. I mean, this thing is basically a magnet for price. So yeah, I mean, that would represent like a 15%. That's probably more realistic. Maybe 2.5x, right? As, you know, Dixie goes up 5, Bitcoin goes up, you know, 12.5 or something. So, sorry, Dixie goes down 5, Bitcoin goes up 12.5. So, you know, if it does make that 6% pullback, you know, something like, what is that? Like 16, 15, something like that out of Bitcoin, that could definitely be in the cards. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But this is decently bullish to see, you know, weekly bullish divergence. Money flow curling, you know, obviously the same thing like we looked at on total. These RSIs and stock have been down here for a while. We can maybe go into like the 4-day to get a read, try to get a better read on money flow. Let's see the 3-day. Yeah, so, you know, that kind of curvature in money flow does look pretty bullish. Seeing momentum come up. Stock and RSI, it's trying to make a move up there. It's not really succeeding yet. You know, we haven't gotten like a true breakout. We've just gotten this little move up. But, you know, like I said before, we'll just have to wait and see. If we do see, you know, let me look at the 2-day. Yeah. So this money flow did flip green. We got the move up. It is starting to curl back over, but, you know, we're going to want to see like, oh, that's not very great, actually. So, 12-hour. This looks like a swing fail. This is a bearish divergence on the 12-hour. Money flow wants to come down. Stock and RSI pointed down. VWAP coming down. Yeah, so 12-hour wants to come down for sure. So I'd expect at least 20K before a move up, probably. You know, we'll have to wait and see, but maybe a little down move then up, but yeah, definitely not the most bullish time frame is the 12-hour. If we look at the 6-hour, VWAP really starting to curl up. Money flow is still coming out though. Yeah, we're waiting for a reversal there. If not, I mean, yeah, like I said before, we probably revisit some of these levels on this point of control at 19.1 and then 18.7, and I would be very worried if we came back to 18.7 that these lows would hold. I would probably expect a retest to that June low at 17.6 at least, and then a daily at 17.1 and a CDW at 16.2. So, yeah, really, this is a big week. This is a big week for crypto and Bitcoin and ES. It's a big week in general. So let's move right along. Let's take a look at ETH. This is the daily time frame. We got this move up. We're seeing a good bit of consolidation here. Honestly, it's not the most bullish thing. We're kind of sitting in no man's land right here. Higher time frames are starting to point down. This money flow looks good, right? 3-day money flow looks great, but we're getting the momentum curling back on the 2-day. We're getting, this is a short entrance right here, right? You get the high and then you get the lower high. For me, that is the time to enter a short. Money flow curling over, VWAP coming down, so I would expect probably a little continuation to the downside, maybe 14.20-ish. We'll have to see, but again, right, all this depends on what CPI prints and how midterms turn out, and yeah, there's a whole host of things that need to go a certain way in order for price to move up or down. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. If we're looking at levels to the downside on ETH, obviously this golden pocket where we had all this consolidation between like 1280 and 1350-ish would be where I'd look for support, see a bounce in here somewhere. But yeah, for now, that's what we're looking at on ETH. I guess we can go into some lower time frames and see what we got. Yeah, got this, 3-peak bear div, got the move down. We're trying to curl back up right now. We are seeing a divergence between money flow and VWAP. Money flow does usually win those battles. So, I would expect maybe, might be too high, maybe another $30-$40 on ETH up if we do get it, and then curl over and come down, retest this low at 1500. But yeah, nothing, no crazy macro reversals yet, right? I mean, we are still, if we zoom out here, we are still in a pretty decent downtrend, right? Let's see here, let's look at the 4-day. Yeah, I mean, every bounce we've seen is sold into. This one's sold into. We didn't even get a higher high here, right? Like if we came up here and got a higher high and started consolidating, that would be a different story. But that is not what has happened so far. So I would not get too overly bullish on this quite yet, right? I mean, obviously there's a few things that if they go the right way, if the Dixie pulls back, we get, everything I've said so far, midterm, CPI, if those things all go the right way, right? I mean, I'm 100% bullish on ETH, but when it's kind of sitting at this, point of control in no man's land, it's hard to give a clear direction on where price is going to go. So we'll have to wait and see. Some decent news. There's FTT. That's a whole thing. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about this. So where to even start? I mean, okay, over the weekend, we saw on Twitter, I believe Alameda put out a balance sheet, Alameda Research, a week or so ago. And CZ definitely got to look at it, the CEO of Binance. And he said on Twitter this weekend that he was going to start TWAP dumping all of his FTT position. And I believe they helped ICO FTT, which is the FTX token for their exchange that Binance holds a lot of. So essentially he owns, I think it's like 8% of their whole supply. And if he were to just, start market dumping it, it would not be good. And this actually might have been part of him market dumping it. So we were sitting here on like Friday, Saturday, somewhere in here, and then all this news came out and it just tanked, right? And, Sam, SBF, and Alameda have been coming out and defending themselves and saying, everything's fine, and all these loans that are collateralized by FTT are fine, and they've paid all of them off, and everything's good, right? And CZ's not buying it. So everybody saw this on Twitter and immediately just kind of aped in short on FTT token. And we got this pretty decent move down. And something interesting is the fact that all this is happening. I guess we're not on a great exchange, actually. Let's just look at it on Binance. Yeah, so we are at like multi-month, multi-year support here at $22. And all this happened when we were sitting about 25. So, is it a scam? Is it just a play between billionaires to liquidate all these shorts? And, we're going to see like a huge, green candle like that. I wouldn't put it past FTX and Alameda and Sam Bankman-Fried, but, if this thing loses $20, $21, $22, there's nothing till, about right here. Yeah, there's nothing till about there, right? There's nothing. There's a little something at 18, but there's nothing until we get down to like where's my brush? Get down to about here, which would be like $10, right? So if it loses that, you're looking at about a 50% haircut on FTT. I would not recommend trading this. There's some games being played right now with this that I do not want to be a part of. So I'm gonna sit that one out. But we can look at some of these other alts. We're looking at Matic. Let's see. Yeah. So where did I draw this from? From this swing high to the yearly low. It did act as resistance here. This order block here, right? We got above. A big level to watch actually is this 25-cent level, which is I think where we're at right now, 1.25. Yeah. So if we can get acceptance and we can claim, we can use this as support in the future. This thing should fly to like 175, probably. If it doesn't, right, we should head back down towards that 110 level. But this thing is up like what? It's up like 300% or something, right? 290% from the lows in June. A lot of altcoins are not up 290% since their June lows. So you can see my partner Noah here in the background. Noah, you got a take on Alameda?
Yeah, I think they've been doing some pretty shady stuff.
Yeah?
I think that they've created a synthetic system that's not truthful, but only time will tell. And
a little flywheel scheme.
I think FTT has turned into a flywheel scheme that I would love to see. Maybe some transparency. I think you don't always have to agree with what Binance is doing, but they are pretty transparent.
It's true.
I can't always say that about FTX, but they're a big name, and we'd hate to see them go under.
We would. That's another thing to consider, right? all of this bullishness, like down here on Market Cipher, and the fact that we're holding the 200 and like Bitcoin, possibly holding some of these levels, right? All of that flies out the window if FTX blows up, right? If FTX blows up, we're going to see something like that. We're going to see something like this move from 30 to 20K, basically.
I think we have to see some transparency and some like what has the relationship been like since SBF, who was the CEO of Alameda, what is the relationship now, even though he's no longer the CEO, but are they using it as a shell corporation? I don't know, but there's lots of questions that need to be answered, I think.
Definitely some shady stuff going on, yeah. We know, he used to be the CEO, he walked away, started FTX. Their balance sheets are clearly very intertwined. I don't know how this is going to play out so far.
Even right now, there's some lots of concerns that Alameda is replenishing FTX's stablecoin reserves, and that's very concerning, I think, right now.
Yeah. So definitely something to keep an eye on, something to watch, but really the two biggest tokens affected by that are Solana and FTT right now. But if the whole thing blows up, we're going to see all of crypto take a dive. So definitely a situation to monitor. We're going to take a look at a couple more alts here real quick, and then we'll let you guys get back to your day. I don't know why there's so much. It's a big order block, I guess, but a lot of boxes here, so let me get rid of a couple. That's a good one. Yeah, so as we can see, I was targeting that 9.5 level for Chainlink, still looking for it. It is showing some pretty solid relative strength over the weekend, actually, when a lot of coins pulled back. Chainlink did stay pretty strong. Looking for it to hold this GP at 8.1. Saw this big bounce off of this 6 level. It will be interesting to see if we can get back above and reclaim something like that, or if we come back, get rejected, come back down, retest support, and if Bitcoin, if it's doing that, if Chainlink's doing something like this and then coming back down, we're gonna see new lows, right? Because in that case, Bitcoin, is most definitely, doing something like this, right? So it's up in the air, but those are your levels to watch. If we see Link get above 9.5, I would look at this next order block, really between 11 and 12, somewhere in there. That wick probably will end up being important. They usually are at 11.4. That's what we got on Link. We are seeing kind of some bottoming formations on alts. Obviously nobody's given us a V reversal, but we are seeing that rounded out bottom. And honestly, some of these alts will bottom months before Bitcoin. Maybe not months, weeks before Bitcoin. So something to keep an eye on. I think in general, general rule of thumb, especially if you're new to crypto, right, is could we go down lower? Sure. But is now a great time to accumulate if you're going to hold for 3 to 5 years? Absolutely. I've added to a lot of my personal spot bags over the last few months, fully thinking that Bitcoin was going to go to, 14 to 16K, right? Doesn't matter. Definitely still been picking up some of these alts down at their lows. So, could it bite me, right? Could it come back to bite me? Could it, hurt me for the next 6 months? Sure. Do I care because I'm going to hold them for 10 years? No, right? So definitely some things to consider, but I think in general, good time to accumulate. It's a bear market, right? It's a good time to get involved, learn how it all works. And that's all we're trying to do here, right? We're just trying to help people get involved, help people grow their wealth, their crypto, and understand this new economy, because it's amazing, right? Like it really can change your life. So yeah, sorry for my little little aside there. We'll look at a few more. We'll look at ETH Bitcoin real quick, actually. So yeah, obviously we're on the weekly. So last week we were about right here when I came on the stream. We're actually gonna go look at BTC.D because this has a big impact on ETH, BTC, obviously. If I'm a range trader, which I can be for sure and have been, right? I'm looking to long this up to here. I'm looking to play this level to level, maybe TP1, TP2, right? If you could trade Bitcoin dominance, which you can. Directly, I would say. You can't trade it directly. Indirectly, you can, right? Indirectly, you can buy Bitcoin down here, and you can sell it up here, and you can buy alts up here, and you can sell them down here, basically, right? Sell them for Bitcoin. All these alts have BTC pairs that you can trade. So looking at this chart, I would say, yeah, now is probably a decent time to be Bitcoin heavy. A lot of these alts are down 90% versus their USD pair, but in terms of who's going to perform better at this point, it does look like Bitcoin is coiling up in terms of dominance to move higher. So that would imply Bitcoin outperforming altcoins in the coming weeks to months. Also, Q4 is historically Bitcoin's best quarter. There is a seasonality aspect to it. Just some things to consider. I'm not like selling alts for Bitcoin and vice versa right now, right? The time to sell Bitcoin for alts would have been up here, and the time to sell alts for Bitcoin is down here, right? So you honestly, you could make that trade now. I don't know if I would play that game versus USD valuations, but yeah, just some things to consider. That being said, looking at ETH Bitcoin, it is at multi-year highs still. We probably will end up getting maybe not this deep of a correction period, I would say, but we will probably get some sort of correction period, right? We will probably pull back to 0.4, 0.3, somewhere in there, before the next bull run really takes off. So not a terrible trade, at 0.736 to trade some ETH back to Bitcoin, but especially if you want to insulate yourself and you're worried about more USD downside risk, not a bad trade to make, but can't really go wrong in just hodling ETH if you've got a 5 to 7 to 10 year outlook. So definitely can't really go wrong if you're holding either one for the long haul, but short term, maybe not short term, mid term, I would say this has some downside risk. Short term, can we go up and retest this 0.86? Sure, it does look like a lower high here. Let's look at the 2 week money flow coming down on the 2 week. Money flow pretty neutral. Lower time frames. Yeah, it's kind of a tough read, honestly. Daily looks like it wants to come down a little bit more. It is holding this support right here at 0.74. Yeah, so levels to watch. We pull back, watch this 0.66. We go up. I would look to trade some for sure at that 0.855 level. Trade some to Bitcoin, that is. But yeah, those are definitely some levels to watch. But yeah, I think that is all I have for you today, guys. I don't know if anyone is watching or will watch this, so this might just be me talking to a computer. But regardless, we want to, we want to put some content out there. We want to get people involved and, help grow the space and help people learn how these assets trade and, all that good stuff. So I will be here doing this every week, Monday, 3 o'clock. I know we're a little bit late today. But yeah, that's really all I got. It should be an exciting week. Watch that CPI print, watch how these midterms turn out, watch that DXY, and that'll kind of give you the path that crypto will take, and that ES and all these all these other risk assets will take. So yeah, that's it from me, and I will see you guys in the next one.